welcome back to another Field Food Tale of the Tines episode. We have a small buck behind us. Actually, probably not even worth talking about. This was DJ's from last year, and I think he could have done better, man.
Yeah. Yeah, you could have shot him before he broke the one off.
Yeah, I know. I wish I would have. Trust me.
So, tell us the story.
This was a big surprise for me. This was the first year I ever hunted at this spot. Got permission through my buddy Clint. He hooked me up.
Thanks,
and,
Clint.
Yeah, and then I was friends with the property owner, my buddy Carp as well. But finally got permission to hunt, and I didn't hunt it much until Clint killed his deer. I didn't want to step on any toes or anything. But they had pictures of this buck kind of early in the year in velvet, so June, July, but it was once, hardly at all. It was like they had a picture in July or August and didn't see him again until damn near the rut. Maybe early October, mid-October. Clint shot his buck, which his was 164 inches and some change.
Oh, that's all?
Yeah, just a big.
When you guys gonna shoot big deer down there?
Yeah. My buddy Clint shot his, and then it wasn't long after he shot his that this deer started to really show up. And I had cameras up, but like I said, I didn't really want to step on any toes. Clint got me permission, so I was kind of trying to hold off a little bit till he killed one. And I hunted it once or twice with Clint while we were there, but anyways, after Clint killed his, I put some more cameras out and really started to hunt a little bit harder, move stuff around. I would say about the 20th of October, I had this deer pegged.
So, how far a drive is this?
About an hour and 10 minutes from my house.
And how often are you making this trip to try and get a pattern on them?
I had cell cameras, so that helped me a lot.
Yeah.
I had 3 cell cameras out there, I think, just on scrapes, but I started to get him in daylight pretty damn frequently.
Okay.
With work, I had him, I think it was like the 26th, 27th, 28th, and 29th.
October?
Yeah, October. Every day, an hour and a half before dark hitting the scrape. And I was on a shutdown at work, working 7/12s, and I couldn't hunt him.
But you're chomping at the bit.
Oh, yeah. Then it turned into, I started taking off. I was doing long weekends at work, taking off Fridays, hunting Friday, Saturday, Sunday, driving down there. Started to really hunt him hard.
Which for November, you're probably banking on anyway.
Yeah, I was. And I had another big deer at a property that was about an hour from my house. They were probably 20 minutes apart from each other. And he was a big deer. We have a rut camp that we do every year down at that property with Clint, and there's 10 or 12 of us there. And this buck shown up, and then at the other place, this other buck shown up, and he was probably a mid-50s 10-point, which still would have been my biggest deer. I mean, he's a
Great deer.
Yeah, huge deer. Framier, I would say he's framier than this deer. He was probably 20 inches wide, but he had 10-inch 2s, 10-inch 3s, just a big
150-10.
Yeah.
He's got to be huge.
Yeah, he was a big deer.
Yeah.
So then I'm battling myself, man, which one do I go after? Because this deer, it was like every third day now he was in daylight. Now it's beginning of November. It's like the first week of November, first or second week. Of course, the one morning I go to the other spot where we're at our rut camp, because this 10-point was there 2 days in a row in daylight. 10-point doesn't show, and this deer's there. And I was just always one step behind him. I mean, I would hunt Saturday, Sunday, he'd be there Monday.
Yeah.
He'd be there Friday, I'd hunt Saturday, Sunday. He wouldn't be there Saturday, Sunday, he'd be there Monday. And I didn't have corn or anything out. I just was hunting pretty much. I felt like I had him pegged with the amount of daylight pictures I had. I knew there was this little valley. It's kind of on the edge of this swamp, and it is so thick. We'll get to how thick it is later, but you couldn't see 10 yards into it. And I figured that's where this deer was living. And I had cameras kind of on either side of it, and I was getting him going in there and then coming out at night. So I knew that's where he was.
So he was bedding there.
Yeah. That's the first time I've ever had a deer like figured out like that. Like I had a very, very good feeling that I knew where he was bedding at.
Was it better or worse playing that cat and mouse game?
I think it was worse because I was so nervous and cautious to make a mistake
Yeah.
with a deer like this.
Yeah, like
I felt like one mess up and he was gone.
yeah.
So like I said, the first 2-3 weeks in November, I was always a step behind him. It didn't matter what I did. I would move. I was hanging and banging every day. Every time I went out, I would move midday and put a different spot in the evening. I don't know for sure, but 2 different times, once in the morning and once in the evening, right where this deer was living. I know he was. I mean, with the amount of pictures I had, there was a buck in there that was chasing does, and he did that buck roar that you see on TV and just, I mean, it's the first time I heard it, it scared the hell out of me. I was like, it sounded like somebody starting up a chainsaw. And I was like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
First time I ever
Yeah.
I thought my buddy was puking in the woods 200 yards from me. I actually texted him, hey, you okay? He goes,
Yeah.
I'm fine. What the heck was that?
Yep. But 2 of the mornings where I thought I was going to see him, I heard him. Well, I don't know. I can't say for sure that it was him. Maybe I'll find out maybe next year. But can't say for sure, but it was coming from right where this deer ended up coming out from whenever I killed him. I have a feeling it was him, but I have no idea. So just cat and mouse the first 3 weeks in November. It didn't matter what I did. I would hunt here and he'd be here. You know, I'd hunt on this side of the bedding and he'd come out over there. Then I go to that side and he'd come out on this side. It was just, I was always one step behind him.
Yeah.
Never did see him. I never seen him until the day I killed him. So gun season came. He disappeared actually for, I'd say it's probably like the third to fourth week in November. I didn't see him for almost 2 weeks, and I figured he was gone. Somebody killed him.
Yeah.
As active as he was in daylight, I just kind of assumed a neighbor got him, you know. So first day of gun, I always do deer drives. I always go down south with 10 or 15 buddies, and we do drives. This is the first year in probably 10 years that I did not go down and do deer drives. Go to the same place every year. Love it. Had a really good feeling this deer was... I ended up getting a picture 2 days before gun, so that's why I did this. Threw a pile of corn out. First time I had put corn in that area all year. I think I put it out Thursday night. Monday would have been gun season, so about 4 days before. I put a little bit of corn and a little bit of apples out. And Friday night, he was there. Middle of the night, midnight, 2 a.m, you know. He showed up, and I was like, oh, man, he's alive.
Yeah.
I put the corn because I honestly thought he was dead. I didn't know if he was alive or not. I hadn't seen him in...
You were just fishing.
Yeah, I hadn't seen him in... It'd probably been about 10 days at that time. I figured he was dead. He's on that corn with a couple does. Now it's... Our gun season is always the first week in December and whatever the last Monday in November is.
Monday after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Monday after Thanksgiving. I think it was like the 26th, I want to say, this past year.
Yeah, last year was kind of
I think it was
early.
November
Yeah,
26th
that
this
sounds
past year. So I put corn out Thursday. Friday, I'm just going to say I put corn out because I feel like some guys would just lie about that and, no, I didn't hunt over corn. Whatever.
Yeah,
If it's legal, then
I know. I know, but you know how some people get like, oh, you shot him over a bait pile. I didn't hunt it all year. I killed him over a corn pile. I don't know if he was coming to the corn. I didn't let him get that far. But so put it out Thursday, Friday night, midnight, I get his picture. Didn't see him again. That was it. He was there one night, and I was like, well, I know he's in the area. I'm just gonna hunt there all day Monday. Opening day gun was freezing cold, super, super windy.
It was cold. Yeah.
The spot that he was in, I think that this is probably why I had a hard time hunting him. It's kind of this bowl, and the wind swirls. It is just one of them spots that it don't matter. The wind will be saying it's blowing east, and you get down there and it's blowing southwest.
Yeah.
You know, and
Which is why he's in there.
Yeah, it's a valley with a bowl kind of at this bottom, and the bowl's all swampy, and the valley is that real thick, nasty stuff where he was living in. And I get in there. I hunted the morning. I had thought I was trying to catch him coming back into there to bed. So I hunted the morning, kind of on the outskirts of it. I was 400 yards away from where I killed him at. Didn't see anything. I think I seen a little 6-pointer or something. Freezing cold. About 11, I finally left. Went back to Carp's house. he cooked me lunch and everything, which was awesome. And at about 2, I went back out and talking with him. I didn't know where the heck to go. I was pretty defeated from not seeing much activity that morning.
Yeah.
I thought maybe I was going to get him that morning, and it was freezing cold. It wasn't so cold, it was just windy, and it was snowy and good conditions for deer other than the wind. So I'm talking to him, and he's like, I think that you should just go down there. He's like, I almost went about 300 yards past my corn because I started to second guess myself because I had hunted that area so many times, and it was just like I never seen him.
Yeah.
I knew he was there. I just was battling myself, you know. I should have just stuck with my gut because I had so many pictures of him. Carp's like, go down there to your corn pile. I'm like, man, it's just hard with the wind, the way the wind swirls and everything. So I did. I went down there, and I had a stand hung that I had hung about 3 days before that, just one of my hang and bang setups for a bow, and it just, I don't know. Something was telling me not to hunt in that stand.
Yeah.
It was kind of open, and the way the wind was that day, it didn't seem right. So I sat, this is a big valley, so I sit up here, my corn pile's kind of in the middle, right? Sit on this side. Wind is supposed to be blowing this way and hitting me in the face. Of course, I get down there, and it's like blowing right into the bedding, and I'm like, ah. And it would blow in the bedding, and then it would turn, and it would come uphill, probably because of the thermals and everything. Didn't help. It was probably 25 mile an hour winds. So about an hour in, I had a deer. I was just sitting on the ground. I had a deer come out, button buck, come out, and he made it 5 foot out of that thicket, and he just started doing this and sniffing. And he never blew, he never ran, but he just turned and went back.
Just had one whiff and said, "Damn."
Yeah, and I was like,
good.
shoot. I'm like, I got to move. So if you can picture, I'm here on this side, right? And this is all a big bowl, this whole thing, okay? So I'm here. I make a move over to this side of this hill. Now I'm on this side. And I moved probably about 100 yards, 80 to 100 yards from where I originally was. And I no sooner sat down, I was probably sitting there 5 minutes, and I moved. And here comes 4 does right. I mean, they would have walked 10 feet from me, and the whole hunt would have been ruined probably.
Yeah.
They come right from behind where I was sitting, walked right past where I was at, get down in the corn. Then 2 more does come from this way. Now there's a group of 4 and a group of 2. Well, this place is loaded with does, and probably need to kill some does, truthfully. But they start fighting over the corn. So this one giant doe stands up on her hind legs and starts kicking this yearling. Well, when she started kicking the yearling bolted. None of the deer knew why this deer ran, but when that yearling ran, all the deer followed, and it was just like a stampede of, I think there were 7 of them. So it was a group of 4 and a group of 3. There were 7 does in the corn pile. There was like a stampede. They just go straight into that thicket, right where I'm banking on this buck is at.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm freezing. It's about an hour before dark now. I text Carp, and I was like, these does, I said, I'm done, dude. I said, get a cold beer for me. I'm coming back. I said, have a beer ready for me and heat me up some food, dude. I was like, I'm done. I'm freezing cold. These does just ran right into the bedding. I'm coming back. I'm just going to bullshit with you. He's like, I don't know, man. He's like, you only got an hour. Just stick it out. And I'm like, I don't know. And I put my phone back, and I'm literally, yeah, I'm about to stand up. I mean, I'm just done. I'm thinking it is completely over.
Yeah. Here's the
And
towel.
yeah.
I'm taking my ball going.
I sat there just kind of defeated for, I bet you it was 2 minutes from the time I texted Carp and said, hey, I'm done. I'm coming back. And I looked down, and I just see him coming. And I didn't know at first that it was him. I knew it was a big deer, but I didn't know it was him. He was probably 140 yards off. And I pulled my binos up, and I was like, oh, gosh. I'm like, that's him. You got to be kidding me. Threw the binos down, and I had a tripod. I threw my gun on that tripod, and I'm just watching him. He's kind of coming from my right out of the thicket. So the does went in here, and he come out here about, I would say, 60 yards away from where the does did. So I don't know if when them does went in, they bumped him up, and he just was like, what's going on, and got up and moved, or what. But he was kind of heading straight at me. He never really headed towards the corn. I'd imagine he would have went to it, but I also had a cut bean field directly behind me. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But he's kind of angling towards me, and he gets to, he's probably, I'd say he's about 80. And I've always struggled with rushing shots, whether it's my bow or a gun. I just rush.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do that with this deer, so I really tried to slow everything down. And I'm just following him. And he's quartered to a little bit, but not bad. And he finally turns broadside. But it was just like, I felt like I had a window like this.
Yeah.
Just this small window. And I'm like, man, if he takes 3 more steps, you could drive a car through. So I'm like, I'm going to be patient, and it'd be perfectly broadside. Well, he took 2 steps, and I could see his antlers, and I could see his shoulder, and that was it.
That was it.
So shoulder, I couldn't see his neck, I couldn't see his vitals. Like I could see his lungs, I guess, but mainly shoulder. I mean, quartered to me, shoulder, and I could see his head. Well, and he was moving very slow, very cautious, but I'm sure you guys know when you see a big buck, when they know something's not right.
Oh, yeah.
They know.
Like,
The body language
like
changes.
that day you said you had 3 different bucks come in, and they were
yeah.
instantly just like, something's not
Yeah.
right. He did that, and he just freezes, and he's just like this.
Just looking.
And he's kind of looking towards the corn, and his ears are going every direction. And I don't know what the wind's doing, because like I said, it swirls like crazy down there. I'm guessing the wind probably swirled and it sucked down into that draw, is my guess. And he just knew something wasn't
Just
right.
trying to figure out where it came from.
And I'm just in my head like, man, you got to do something, because I'm afraid he's just going to turn and just do a couple bounds and he's gone. And I'm looking and I'm like, I think I can do it. I'm like, he's quartered 2. He's probably 75, 80 yards. But I think I can do it. I was shooting a 350 Legend. Felt really, really comfortable with that gun. So quarter 2, I took the shot him right in the shoulder. And his leg buckles. He takes off with 3 legs. His head's damn near on the ground, just bulldozing through the woods. He gets back into the thicket where he came from. And it sounded like somebody had a machete and it's just hacking everything, and then silence. And I'm like, oh, he's done. Smoked him. Done.
Yeah.
Hit him right in the heart,
Yeah.
you know? So Carp ends up coming down. I think he called me 37 times because I wouldn't answer the phone. Because I'm just trying to like...
He was actually listening.
I'm just trying to take it all in, you know? And like...
Right.
It worked.
And
it worked.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm coming down. I got to check for blood. And I'm like, give me 10 minutes, man. Like, go on, you know? Because I told him, I was like, I think I heard him crash. So he ends up just coming down. He's like, he's not answering. So he walks down. We go to look for blood, and we didn't find a single drop.
No.
You couldn't find where he mule kicked, which he never did mule kick, but you couldn't find where he kicked up dirt.
He was digging in.
No hair.
And all 300 pounds of them through the woods.
Nothing. I mean, we couldn't find any sort of sign that this deer was hit.
Yeah.
And he's like, are you sure you hit him? And he got me so in my head. He did. And I love him. But, man, it just, when somebody questions you, you're like, I don't know. Did I see what I thought I saw?
Right.
Like, I swear his shoulder was broke, but was it? Did I shoot him in the guts?
I don't know, Bobby. I was high when I said that.
And when I second guessed myself the whole way, him and I walked to that thicket, right? We went about 5 or 6 yards, I'd say, into that thicket. Never found blood, never found hair, not a drop. And he's like, let's just go in the thicket. I will say this, I should have just listened to him. He's like, let's go in the thicket for 20 yards. And I'm like, man, if I hit him in the guts, I don't want to jump him. I've done that before. I don't want to jump this deer.
Yeah.
You jump a deer like this, you're probably not finding him.
No.
So
No, probably not.
we back out. We go back. I tried to drink a couple beers, and I couldn't even.
Just nauseous.
It was like one of them nights where I could have drank a 30-pack
yeah.
and never got a buzz, you know, just sick to my stomach.
There is nothing worse than that feeling.
My buddy Clint and a couple of my other buddies were coming down to help track. And I still didn't know if I should track that night or just wait till the morning, you know.
It was cold, right?
Yeah, it was freezing cold, yeah.
So
it was getting down to like 5.
Yeah, you at least had temperature on your side.
Yeah. Which, looking back, probably should have just waited the next day. It would have been, when we found him, the whole experience would have been better if I would have waited till the next day. Because we didn't find him until midnight. But I ended up calling a drone. Call a drone in.
Oh, man, you were like, you're running through the list.
Yeah,
You're nervous.
The people ended up living like 2 miles away, but they were on another track. So they didn't get there for like 2.5 hours. And I think they got there around 9:30 or 10.
So since we're bringing up drone, I just want to mention that this is in Ohio. Huh?
Yeah. So it's legal here. So that guy found him. I showed him on Onyx where I was at. He flew it over. You could see deer everywhere, and they were all alive. And there was one right where I watched him go, this blob.
Yeah.
And he's like, I think that's just a rock. And I said, that's my buck, dude. I was like, I said, that's right where he went. That's right where I heard him fall. I said, that's him. He looked and looked for 25 minutes. He's like, man, I'm not seeing anything. And I said, go back to that blob. He's like, I really think it's just a rock. He's like, it's not. The way he was laying, he died mid-run, so his legs were underneath of him and his head was sprawled out.
So
I have pictures.
There's kind of like a long profile.
Yeah, he just was. I mean, he died mid-run. I blew his heart in half.
And this is southern Ohio, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of those big granite.
Yeah, that's what this guy thought it was. Like them, you see them giant rocks in the woods.
Yeah.
That's what he thought it was. And he asked the property owner, Carp. He's like, "Is there like big rocks down there?" And he's like, "No." I'm like, "That's got to be him, man."
Yeah.
So he finally flies the drone back around after about 20 minutes and gets down in there looking at him.
Give me the damn
And this
stick.
whole time, this whole time, I'm just a nervous wreck, you know,
Yeah.
like. Because when the guy's like, I don't think that's a deer, and then I'm like, man, if he's not there, I'm not. I either missed or and I knew I didn't, but so he comes in at a different angle, and you could see his antler on the ground. Then he turned they have like a spotlight or something on it, I don't know, but he turned it and you could see it looked like. I mean, it was all night vision, so it was like black and gray, but it looked like a big stick coming up off the ground.
Oh, you're like,
and he's like,
that's a deer.
He's like, that's got to be him.
Yeah.
So we ended up going down, and it was so thick. We didn't, even with the drone floating right above that thing, we did not see that buck until we were probably 10 yards away from it.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
with
thick.
flashlights.
That's why he was there, though.
That's why he was.
It's 100%.
Yeah. We were probably 15 to 20 yards away from him, and he was stone cold dead when we went into that thicket, but it was so thick. And it was getting right at dark, you know?
Yeah, gray light. Your eyes start playing tricks on you.
Yep. So if we would have just done a quick little grid search in there, like Carp wanted to, we would have found him at 20 minutes after dark.
Saved you a lot of grief.
Yeah, a lot of grief. But yeah, so then by the time we find him, get him back up to the house and everything, it's 11 o'clock, you know, and you're trying to enjoy it and drink a beer, but it's so late and you're so burned out that
they're probably going to keep hunting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, them guys were going to hunt like the next day and everything, so.
It's nice having a deer in camp.
Yeah.
A deer like that in camp is a game changer. I would say, like, the way you handled that, if you don't know, give it time.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would.
When in doubt,
I would
back out.
Yeah.
And they were all on me to to just go in there. Not all of them, but Clint, my buddy Clint's, he's one of my best friends, especially when it comes to hunting. But he listened to everything I told him, and he goes, "Dude, you've killed enough deer. If that's what you saw, that deer's dead."
Yeah.
He's like, that deer's dead. If you seen his shoulder broke like that and he was quartered two, you hit him right in the heart. And you heard him fall. He's like, you're just second guessing everything.
Yeah.
And it's easy to do on it, you know, in that situation.
Yeah, but it's the biggest buck of your life, especially one this size.
Yeah, and I didn't want to.
Yeah.
You spent this long being cautious the whole season to get him. Now you don't want to rush.
So then we find him and
mess it up.
He only ran 50 yards on it from where I shot him. It was probably maybe 60. That deer never bled a drop. There was 2 drops of blood running down right where I shot him, which was right here. This is where I hit him at.
Right there.
Yep, right there. There was 2 drips of blood coming down, and that
is the one thing I've heard a lot of guys say about the 350s. The blood trails are less than desirable.
So
it never exited. That was the other issue.
Well,
it hit that shoulder, and it did its job. It blew his heart. I mean, there was hardly anything left of his heart. Got both lungs. It angled back in through and got both lungs. But he never bled with no exit.
we shoot the Deer Hunter XP with our 350, which is 180 or 185. The normal standard rounds of a 150 grain. I showed you the mushroom of the 185, and we have a bunch of videos of us shooting deer on this channel with that 185 grain.
Yeah.
They drop.
Yeah.
It doesn't take far.
Yeah. This was a 165 grain hollow point.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I shoot 450.
So
250 grains.
It did its job, but
badass.
I'd be lying if I said I don't have a bad taste in my mouth with the 350.
I'm going to give you a box. All right, so there's something you said in the very beginning that I want to back up to. You said you have this deer on camera every now and then because there was another buck in the area that your buddy shot.
Yeah.
And then once he was shot, he started showing up.
I think my mind's going to the same place yours is.
Yeah.
So
I also
So that other deer is probably the dominant deer
Yeah.
in the area,
Yeah.
and that deer being taken out
Yeah.
allowed him to stay
Yep,
around.
that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I also threw my cameras up in completely different part of the farm than where Clint was. I mean, this is like a 350 acre property, and if he's in, say he's in the northeast corner, I killed this deer in like the southwest corner.
Okay.
I mean, I bet you it was 1,000 yards more. I mean, it was a good ways.
But still within
But still
within range of
yeah, I would
yeah,
agree,
in his home range.
because his brother started getting more pictures of him after Clint killed that bigger buck.
Okay.
On a corn pile. I mean, it was middle of the night, but he
Still,
was a lot more
he felt more comfortable
Yeah.
coming in knowing that other
Yeah.
buck
Yeah.
was gone.
And that other
Yeah.
buck he was an older, more mature deer.
Was he?
Yeah. I think this deer's only 4. People will probably think I'm stupid, but they had pictures of this deer last year, and I'll send them to you. And if you want, you could put a little clip up side by side.
Yeah.
This deer was 130 inches last year, maybe.
It's crazy how they blow up sometimes from 3 to 4.
Yeah.
Yep. He had the start of the bladed brows. He had the start of the split on his G2, but he was just a typical looking 10 point, and he just, I don't know, he just blew up. He had the genetics.
You can leave him here if you want. All right.
Yeah.
Questions?
Bust that score sheet out. I want to hear some numbers.
24 inch beams, 24 and 3/8 and 23 and 7/8. 5 inch bases, and then 4 and 2/8 to 4 and 3/8 on the rest of
So
them.
he carries his mass the
Yeah,
whole
not
way
real
out.
tall tined. His
does.
his 2s are 10 inches, and then he's I think 8 for his 3s. But he's got some junk, He's got
He's trashy.
He's got a couple inches here, an
Yeah.
inch here. These 2 here didn't count. They scored him as a 13, which is right. But I wish they would have found another inch. He was 100. He come out at 169 on the dot. So
We could
1 inch
we
shy
could
of-
squeeze an inch out.
yeah, 1 inch shy of Booner, but that's all right. Gross. That's not deductions. I don't do deductions. Nets are for fishing.
Reach, brother.
I don't do deductions. If you put deductions on me, to lose freaking probably, I don't know.
My buck was
He'd
go in a
50
books as a
inches the same way.
115.
He was high 170s. I mean, that's